Hey guys, welcome back to Do It Live, and we have a new segment for you called Trade Secrets. What I'll be talking about on Trade Secrets is little tips and tricks that I use to make sure I save the most money or get the best bang for my buck. This way you can use these throughout your daily life and save a little bit of money and get what you want. So this week on Trade Secrets we have 5 tips when buying on any local classified site like Kijiji or Craigslist. So let's get started. So when buying anything on Kijiji or Craigslist, this is what I use to make sure that I get the best bang for my buck and I'm not screwed over in any way, shape, or form. So let's start with the tips. Tip 1. Read the ad and description. Tip 2. Find an ad with a phone number attached to it. Tip 3. Haggle. Tip 4. Choose a mutually convenient and accessible meeting place. And tip 5. Inspect the item carefully. So let's start with tip 1. Read the ad description. Check for pictures that are taken of the actual item from the seller and not stock photos from Google or from any website. As a seller, there has been many times where someone has disregarded any pictures or information I've left in the ad for them. This slows down the process and allows time for someone else to sweep the deal from under you. You don't want to lose the deal. You need to close it as soon as possible, so read that ad and make sure any questions that you have are not addressed there. If there are any questions that you need to ask or need to have answered, ask them after setting up an approximate time. This way the seller believes you're committed and doesn't venture into other buyers. This still leaves you time to question whether you want the item or not. So let's move on to tip 2. Look for an ad with a phone number attached that you can call or text. This means the person is motivated to sell, and it gives you an extra layer of security in trusting the seller. People typically check their texts and calls a lot more often than their emails. This makes it more of a direct contact. Now that you have a direct contact with the seller, you're more easily able to haggle, find out more information, and close the deal quicker, which, like I said, is really important. Also, phone numbers are a lot less disposable than emails. Anyone could just make an email, but a phone number requires a little bit more of dedication towards it, and so you can trust the seller just a bit more. So the third tip seems pretty straightforward, but a lot of people forget to do it. It's haggling. Haggle the seller. Unless the ad specifically states firm, there's always room for negotiation. Even a good deal can become better with a bit of haggling. But don't be a jerk and lowball, which means that you offer a significantly lower price than what they're asking. When haggling, always consider the value of the item, the condition, and how much they're asking. For example, asking $50 off a $100 item is asking for about 50% off their item. That's a bit too much. But asking for $50 off a $250 items is like asking 20% off. Also emphasize your flexibility and willingness to meet according to convenience. People would rather have a quick and easy sell than an extra 20 to 50 bucks. It's surprising, but it's the truth. I always suggest haggling after you've set up a meeting time and before you're about to meet up. This way the seller's committed and believes that the convenience might be more important than the money. After all this, the worst they can say is no, and you're back to the asking price. Tip 4. Choose a mutually convenient and accessible meeting place. I couldn't emphasize this more, but choose an openly public or open area, as this is not only for your safety, but they'll feel safe as well. If you don't drive, choose a mall or a subway which is easily accessible. People typically prefer to meet at coffee shops. The reason why is because it's typically populated, as well as there's always a sit-down area for you to inspect the item and for them to count the money safely. If you drive, choose a plaza or a gas station, as there's usually cameras around if you're worried about safety. Also important, you should bring someone with you on the deal. It can be intimidating meeting up with a random person, so having that friend with you will relax you and provide some great company. Now that you're meeting with them in person, this is the last tip you should employ. It's tip 5. Inspect the item carefully. Make sure that anything discussed in the ad or previously mentioned is there and apparent. This involves the physical items and accessories, scratches, damages, and functionality. Remember that this is not a friend or a store and there's no return policy. You'll find yourself stuck with this item if you run into any issues. Check if all items they mentioned are included, but there's no need to highlight any extra things they've added or any value to the item. You don't want them to think that they should keep the item and cut the deal off. One thing you might need to do is to do a bit of research beforehand to verify the validity of the item. Remember, if you're buying something popular, there's typically a fake for it. One time I went to go buy a Samsung S6 and the person handed me a fake device. I was able to spot it right away because I went into the store beforehand or in the past and tried the phone out and knew what it would look like when I go to meet them in person. Never pick up any items that aren't charged or don't have their battery. You won't be able to verify if it works or not, and you'll be stuck. Also, there are some unique identifiers to some items, so do some research and take a look, and even use an online database for things like a cell phone. Now that you're equipped with these 5 tips, you should do it live and try your hand at the used and second-hand market. You can save yourself a lot of money and get that quality item that you've been looking for. Don't forget to tune in next week on Trade Secrets, where I'll share even more tips for you to maximize your savings and get the best bang for your buck. Take care, guys.